Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing another subscriber Q&A. This is where you guys submit your questions and I try to answer them to the best of my ability, hopefully helping you out and anyone else who might be watching the video. Now, before we get started, if you guys want to support what I do here, definitely check out my website, Fishofhex.com. It's 25% off for this month, and I will put the discount code in the comment section as well as the description of this video. So appreciate all the support in advance, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, so today's question has to do with increasing the pH in a reef tank. And from what it sounds like, this guy is definitely doing the right things and moving in the right direction. Now, I do have a couple questions regarding some of the methods and thought process behind some of the things that he's doing. But outside of that, overall, his approach is definitely good. Now, I will be adding my own tips and tricks and suggestions in this video for those of you who are trying to elevate the pH in your reef tank as well. So with that said, let's go ahead and read the question and get started. Good afternoon. I'm writing to try to figure out why I can't get my pH up in my reef tank. I'm using the same setup as you, the Avast Calc stirrer, but all of a sudden I can't get my pH over an average of 7.5, even when dosing 10 liters of calc a day. I think that translates to like 2.5 or 2.6 gallons a day. When I first started calc, my pH rose to 8.4 easily, but now no matter what I do, I can't get my pH up. My skimmer pulls air from the attic through the BRS Twin CO2 scrubber. The windows in my fish room are open and my CO2 monitor in the room constantly under 550 ppm. I have an air stone running full speed right below the calc stirrer dumps into my sump. I'm out of answers or solutions. Do you have any idea what the problem might be? My tank parameters are now ALK 10.6, calcium 471, magnesium 1475. Thanks. Okay, so the first thing that really caught my eye is I have an air stone running full speed right below where the calc stirrer dumps into my sump. Now, I'm not really sure the thought process behind that. It just doesn't really make sense to me. I can see you can put an air stone in the sump in general just to inject some oxygen, but I'm not really seeing the thought process or the idea behind using it for calc where it dumps in. I think the best thing you can do with calc when it's dumping in is put it in a higher flow area so it can mix quickly with the reef and get into the setup. Outside of that, bubbling air through it, potentially splashing it up on the sides of the tank, or just kind of messing with it. I don't really know the chemical, like what it's actually doing to the calc. My thought process is the only time I've really used air stone for anything dripping in the tank was with my calcium reactor, because you are dumping that really low pH of fluid into the reef tank. So injecting oxygen potentially increases the pH. And I've done videos on this where it actually does increase the pH before dumping back into the reef tank. That's the only other time I would consider using air stone, just besides putting it in a sump in general, injecting oxygen. So again, I don't really know the thought process behind using it with calc. If any of you guys have any ideas, feel free to put that stuff in the comment section. But for me, right off the cuff here, I'm not really sure why you're doing that. Okay, so I do have a few questions right off the bat. If your alkalinity is at 10.6 and your pH is at 7.5 and you're doing all these things to remove the CO2 from the tank, which again, it sounds like you're doing the right stuff, my gut is telling me that there's something wrong with your pH probe. I only say this because I've calibrated the pH probe in my calcium reactor multiple times. No matter what I do, it's still 30 points lower than what it actually is. And I only know that because I use multiple testing methods to calibrate and to make sure that my pH probes are where they should be. Now, with that, I would double check your pH probe, consider recalibration, maybe swapping out pH probes, seeing if something changes on that, because you didn't mention if you're using any other methods of testing your pH. So I'm just assuming that it's in the sump with the apex or something like that. Now, another thing to consider and look at is your actual true alkalinity level. Again, with the pH probe, using multiple methods to verify the actual number. So you might think you're at 10.6, but your testing method might just be bad, or something's going on, or maybe there's various reasons why you might not be getting the right number. So using multiple methods just to confirm or get an average, just like when we're recalibrating our temp probes, using multiple methods to get an average and then setting our probe to that for our sump. So double check your alkalinity, and then also double check the calibration on the pH probe, swapping out all that good stuff. Now, moving on to, I guess, some things that you can consider that you might have forgotten, or some things that you could possibly implement to increase the level of the pH. Double check the media in your CO2 scrubber. It's very common for people who just start using these methods when they're pulling air from outside and you're not actually recirculating it, is that you will burn that media up extremely fast without even realizing it. And sometimes it doesn't even change color. One of the issues that I've ran into over time of changing that stuff out. So double check your media. Make sure it hasn't gone bad. Try new media. And if you're burning through it quickly, then consider using one of my CO2 scrubber attachments. You simply add it to the lid of your skimmer. It clips in place. I think I have like 150 different models of skimmers that I offer right now, and we're adding new ones all the time. Basically, all you're going to do is you're going to take your return pump, your air return to the skimmer that's going to attach to the CO2 scrubber. Then you're going to attach the CO2 scrubber to this ring that goes on your skimmer, and you're going to use the provided plugs. It's going to close it up, the entire system. I do have videos on this, by the way. And you're just going to simply recirculate the same air over and over and over again in the skimmer itself. You're going to save the media. I've had reports of people going from media lasting 1 week to over a month. So you're going to save some money on that. Plus, it's all going to be internal. You don't have to worry about sucking in anything from outside. So consider doing that. Also, another thing to look into, and you didn't mention, but having a refugium, having that light run at night. Personally, for me, 2 hours, the light will kick on 2 hours before my main display turns off, and it will turn off 2 hours after my main display has turned back on. A good overlap of lighting allows you to keep the CO2 out with the chaeto growing, or whatever macroalgae you so choose. Plants use that stuff to grow. So again, removing CO2 from the tank increases the pH. We already talked about double checking the media and the recirculating scrubber. That's pretty much it. Again, it sounds like you're doing everything correctly. One more thing, I guess a side note here, if you aren't already doing this, but a lot of people do it without even thinking about it, is if your power heads are not breaking the surface tension or the surface of the water, that's a great way to exchange CO2 gas with the air around you. So making sure that you're breaking up the surface area of your reef tank, which a lot of us just do naturally with overflows and with our return lines. But again, having those power heads pointing forward, getting that rumbling at the top will definitely remove a lot of CO2 from the tank. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Again, overall, you're doing a great job. The only other thing I guess I would mention is, just because I always kind of side on caution here, is your alkalinity level. If it's truly at 10.6, it's a little high for me. I think because our safety range in the reef tank is 7 to 12 DKH, and no one wants to be at an extreme of either end of that. So sticking around 8.5, 9 is pretty safe. So I think once you figure out your CO2 situation, your pH situation, bringing that back down to a safer range will give you a little bit more leeway just in case you overdose or something goes on wrong in the future. That's pretty much it. I think you're doing a good job thus far. Maybe making some tweaks, double checking some media and some probes, and I think you're going to find the issue pretty quickly. So with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to add anything to this, feel free to put that stuff in the comment section. Again, if you want to support the channel and what I do here, head over to my website, fishofhex.com, 25% off. Again, that code will be in the description as well as the comment section of this video. And I'll see you guys later. All right, peace.